Thank you very much for inviting me. I am honored to be among a lot of the upcoming companies, a lot of great speakers on this conference. But let me jump right in. I have a lot of information to present here. Um, AgelessRx, our mission is to help people live longer by accelerating the progress and adoption of therapies that prevent age-related diseases. We're doing this by providing direct access to safe, scientifically proven longevity therapies. Um, and we're also developing a consumer-friendly platform for all things longevity. My name is Sajad Zalzala. People call me Dr. Z for short. I'm pretty well versed in telemedicine, being one of a few doctors licensed in all 50 states. I have experience with other direct-to-consumer brands such as Hims and the Pill Club, and I'm a co-founder of AgelessRx as well as a medical director. But my passion has always lied in the treating the underlying cause or the root cause of disease. And premature aging is the ultimate cause of most of the diseases that afflict us. And that's kind of the passion that's been driving me. So AgelessRx launched a little over a year ago. It was formerly known as Qualitude. That was kind of our original name when we launched, but we changed it a few months ago to be a little bit more consumer friendly. And we were fortunate enough to be featured on a CNBC article. Is my audio coming in okay? Everybody can hear me? Okay, all right, I see shaking heads, so.
No, it's coming in great.
All right, excellent. All right, we try to simplify the process as much as possible. We make slowing aging, addressing age-related diseases, fast, convenient, affordable through our telemedicine platform. Real quick, what's telemedicine? Before COVID, it was kind of not very well known, although it was gaining traction. But after COVID just kind of accelerated the whole field. But basically, it's any form of medicine or that where you're not seeing the patient, face to face in the same room. History of telemedicine, like I said, prior to the pandemic, only about 18% of physicians were using telemedicine. Now that's probably, I think almost every physician at this point has kind of been forced to adopt telemedicine. You've got companies like PlushCare, up by 70%. Amwell visits are up by like 158%. And these are dated. I mean, it could be even more than that. These slides are a few weeks old. What is longevity? I mean, I don't necessarily have to go into this. You've had a lot of great speakers here kind of, talk about it. But it's not just about the number of years on your calendar. So it's not necessarily just reaching 100 plus. It's about, health, more like health span, being healthy enough to enjoy those extra years. And the idea is kind of like, biohacking to enhance, kind of biohacking physiology to live longer and healthier and either prevent or delay age-related diseases. And it's kind of a fast coming field, as you can see by the number of presenters, the number of companies that are kind of bumped up recently. And I just spend a minute here. The difference between kind of anti-aging and longevity. I mean, there's definitely a lot of overlap. But with when people classically think or typically think of anti-aging. Usually it's narrow focused, like cosmetics, maybe hormone replacement, things of that nature. Stem cell therapy has become very popular for like joints and things like that. Longevity is, like I said, more of like a way to kind of manipulate or assist the physiology to health to increase health span. And some of the therapies we currently offer, like metformin, NAD augmentation, and then there's a lot of other therapies. This conference has been kind of chock full of great companies talking about all sorts of therapies that they're working on. And then contrasting us to like a brick and mortar clinic. Usually it's high overhead, limited geographic reach. Every clinic is kind of an island unto itself. And so consistency and things like that. And then data sharing is just not very well existent when you have these individual clinics. Online, I mean, there's very little geographic limits. You create the platform so you get more consistency in terms of quality of service. and consistency of service, as well as you can kind of gather all that data, which can be very useful in this field. I mean, data is kind of king these days in this century. um, so we started out with a telemedicine offering. Like I said, metformin was kind of our first thing. We saw the need, and then we're recently kind of venturing into clinical trials. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And then we're also looking to get into personalized data analysis, and that's creating a platform to help people kind of track their progress when it comes to how they're doing with their health, their longevity, things of that nature. And then the idea is kind of we feed it into a cycle. So our clinical trials will be focused on finding either finding new therapies or just tweaking current therapies to be able to offer them back into our telemedicine platform. And likewise with the personalized data, we want to be able to guide patients on what therapies we think is appropriate for them based on the data we have at hand. In our telemedicine offering, like mentioned, metformin, NAD, CGM sensors, we're soon to offer glutathione products. Low-dose naltrexone is one of my personal favorites because I've been prescribing it for so long. Helps a lot more quality of life and things like that. I thought I'd just kind of give it a little information about metformin and part of the reason why we decided to prescribe it. I mean, this slide was taken from a paper, and I think the author of this paper was one of your speakers yesterday, I believe. And it just kind of outlines how simple, quote unquote, mundane medication like metformin has been around forever. It seems has so many physiological effects on the aging process, and I'm sure you've all heard about all the wonderful research that's being done on metformin. But we decided that it was time that somebody was kind of stepped up and met the demand for patients who are looking to get on metformin, because it just seems to be so much data on it. In terms of clinical trial, we have approval from an IRB to do the largest of its kind of rapamycin trial. It's called Pearl. I'll talk about that in a minute. Just like every other researcher and company out there, we're also kind of trying to play our part in COVID-19 clinical trials. We're in the process of getting approved for a few small scale pilot trials, and then hoping to kind of expand those, taking some of the therapies that we offer, like metformin, NAD, LDN, and helping with both acute and chronic COVID. So stay tuned for that. We haven't quite worked out the details yet. And then we're looking to validate various different biomarkers. A lot of great organizations out there working on various different biomarkers. A lot of those biomarkers are based on large population trials. Their algorithms are based on large data groups and not so much individual patients. So we're hoping as part of our trials to kind of validate some of that. And then we're looking. Our clinical trials will also try to look at new product creation, for example. Like nobody's ever, to my knowledge, looked at offering glutathione by the iontophoresis patch, and we've had some very good preliminary results on that. And then there are companies out there that have small pilot programs for their therapies, whether it be pharmaceutical prescription or even like natural based therapies. And so we're reaching out to some of those companies and organizations to help expand their pilot trials. And then you're looking at various different combinations. That's kind of in the pipeline as well. Looking at some may be synergistic, some may be antagonistic. So we won't really know until we start kind of digging deep into the science and testing it on patients. And then with that data monitoring that I was telling you about, we're looking to do more like monitoring trials. Let's see here. Our Pearl trial, you can learn a little bit more for the sake of brevity. I'm not going to go into it, but basically we're looking at 4 different dosing regimens. It'll be randomized, controlled, double-blind, placebo-controlled, and we'll be looking at a bunch of different biomarkers. And the hope is to kind of do it in 2 phases: a small 375 person and then a larger 1,000 person trial. And then the personalized data analysis, like we talked about a little bit, looking at various different biomarkers, wearable data, using various algorithms and machine learning and things of that nature. And then we're hoping to kind of build this large repository of data for kind of all things longevity focused. We started a year ago, and just as a company, we've been growing pretty strong, 20% plus month over month. Over 1,000 active subscribers. We're tightening up our margins and things like that. We closed a seed round back in April, and we're looking to do a Series A in about 6 months or so. And of course, we can't do it alone, and so we're looking for partners. We're looking for anybody who has testing various different modalities, therapeutics like we talked about, any kind of technology, software platform. And of course, these research trials will require some funding. If anybody has any sources of funding for those, we'd love to talk to you. Thank you very much, and I hope you've enjoyed the presentation.
Great. Well, Sajad, thank you very much. I was just wondering how have you thought about how you're going to market these services? And if so, if you could kind of just walk us through that.
Market in terms of?
So how are you currently selling? You mentioned 1,000 active subscribers. So how do you generate these subscribers? How do you maintain them? And how do you get more?
Yeah, I mean, so we brought on board a marketing person several months ago, and just like a lot of direct-to-consumer brands, through Google Ads, Facebook, social media, partnership outreach.
Sajad, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I ask? We only have a couple minutes, but make sure that I understand your model. Your model's a little dissimilar to other companies that are presented because they're developing products or tools or so forth. You have a telemedicine MD who prescribes rapamycin or metformin to folks who call you up. And are they looking to have prescriptions filled because they are, presumably, because they have conditions that for which these drugs are labeled? And what you're trying to do is to make sure that they can have them filled as quickly and easily as possible. And is there a big market? Is it a scalable market for that?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So we're not offering rapamycin currently.
Right.
The idea of doing the Pearl trial is to get an idea of the dosing and such, because right now dosing in humans for longevity for rapamycin is speculative. So that's why we're not currently prescribing it. However, when you look at things like metformin, I mean, the safety profile is well established, and we're prescribing off-label for age-related disease prevention.
Got it.
I mean, obviously, people come to us with all sorts of conditions, but our goal is to provide these therapies for people who, they read, David Sinclair's book, or they hear, Niraj Barzilai speak about metformin, and they hear about people, entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley, taking metformin to help themselves live longer and healthier.
Or even young blood transfusions, but we won't go there.
Well, that's a different story. Yeah, maybe one day we'll be able to roll that out and scale it out. But
Sajad, I apologize for interrupting, but I think we're going to have to go to the next presenter. But I appreciate this chance to get a clarification on your model.
Sure, but it's a subscription model. Yeah, it's a subscription model.
Telemedicine, which is an important part to increase the reach. That's absolutely
exactly. And we feel it's very scalable. And we started out as a pilot a year ago, and we were surprised, at the level of interest.
Understood. Thank you so much, Sajad.